career, Bryan was a first-round NFL draft pick and spent a decade-long career in the NFL playing for Green Bay Packers and Los Angeles Chargers, where he was recognized as one of the league's best offensive linemen. Behind all of the success on the field, Bryan was forced to persevere through several knee injuries and overcame thyroid disease during his playing days, but his ANF spirit, defined by dedication and rock-solid work ethic, drove him to success. Bryan's character represents everything ANF stands for, and we're honored to have him join the ANF family as this year's ANF Wall of Honor recipient. Thank you.
How's it going? It was a very nice intro. I appreciate it. I just want to say this is a phenomenal honor. It means a whole lot to me. I know when I look at the list of the guys that have been given this honor, I know a lot of them personally. I played with some of them. I competed with against some of them, and it's a heck of a list. And the guys that are on that are great men, and they were great players. So to be included as part of this small group means a lot, and I'm very honored by it. And everything that this award stands for, means a lot to me, because to be put into that category of what person they're looking for this award means a lot. So it's a great honor. I'm happy to be back with my family. I know my parents come up, Thursday. They're excited to be back, and we're just really looking forward to the week in store. So with that, if there's any questions, I know I don't have as good of an interview as Coach, but I don't have the dirt. So
Well, first of all, you look a little thinner than you did the last time you were here back in dating both of ourselves on that one. But yeah. What's kind of the ag background of your family? You mentioned that you. Mm-hmm.
So my dad's great grandfather, he and the family owned a pretty large farm in southern Illinois. Then he went to war. They moved back, or after the war, he came back and moved the family to the city, moved him to Chicago. So that was on my side, way before my dad was even born. Our family did have a pretty large farm in southern Illinois. And then my wife's family, her family had a pretty large farm as well in Carthage, Illinois. That just recently got sold. But both sides, not directly me or directly her, have an ag background, with our families being involved in farming.
What would be your advice to this year's team?
Honestly, just keep going the way you're going. I mean, it sounds so simple, but the season's playing out the way it is. And I know people want this out of the offense or this out of the defense, but, at this point in the season, they are where they're at, and you just got to keep battling and fighting these games the way you are. I mean, the team has kind of started to create its identity and who they are and what they're going to be about, and you got to hang your hat on it and just go play, right? I mean, some weeks may be a little bit better in this area or better in that area, but that's football in general. But the team knows who they are. They trust each other, and just continue to go out there week by week and lay it all out there. And that's kind of what they're doing. I mean, I've had fun watching them. It's been exciting. Some games down to the wire, you're a little bit on the edge of your seat, but I've had fun watching it. Finally, this is like one of the first years I've actually got to watch every one of them. So it's been fun for me.
Bryan, I mean, a lot of former players always talk about the relationship that they keep with Coach Ferentz. I guess when you think about the way your career was, and you think about Kirk Ferentz and the impact he's had on you, what's the first thing that really kind of pops out?
Man, I mean, obviously this wasn't a building that I was in, but I feel like even coming back here, it just feels like home. You know what I mean? I grew up here. I came in here a kid and felt like I left a man, and a lot of that has to do with Coach Ferentz and kind of the program that he builds, that he puts guys through. And at my time, obviously, it was Coach Morgan, the offensive line coach, and Coach Doyle was a strength coach, and those three guys together really helped mold me. And obviously Coach Ferentz, he is an offensive line guy through and through. That's kind of his bread and butter. So I got to spend tons of time with him on the practice field, sometimes that was tougher than what people may think it would be, because it's he'll put you through the ringer a little bit. But I remember as a freshman when he would come over and coach the offensive linemen and help out with individual, I just tried to like soak and absorb all that information in, because to me I was new to the position. I didn't really know what I was doing, but just hearing him coach it and teach it and show guys like what he's looking for, I just tried to absorb that all in. Even if it didn't feel comfortable while I was doing it, you'd still try it, and most of the time it ended up working out for you because he knows what he's talking about. So I found that out early as a freshman, and I think just what you learn from him, not just on the practice field, but day-to-day meetings and just interacting with him, helps you grow up when you're coming in here as a kid and you think you got it all figured out, but you really don't. And he does a good job really helping guys, become men as they make their way through here, which I'm very thankful for.
Brian, share with us one of the games that stands out to you in your Iowa career, a highlight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the easy answer is the Orange Bowl. That was a great win. It was a great time. Probably one of the ones that stood out most to me, I think it was one of the first games I started, was against Illinois here. I think they were ranked number 2 or number 1. They were pretty high up there ranking-wise, and we beat them. And I think it was because it was either first or second game starting. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a close game. It was one of those kind of ugly games. They were highly ranked. We weren't really playing well at the time. But as a first start to go up against, I think, the number 1 or 2 team in the country was something that stood out. And that was the highlight. I can go up and down the highlights. The Daniel Murray kick against Penn State, the Michigan game. There was a lot of them that really stood out. But I would say that game against Illinois was really, stands out for me.
I can't see from back here, but are you wearing your Super Bowl ring?
No, that's my wedding ring. Yeah, it's more important. Wedding ring's more important.
Bryan, when you were playing for the Packers, they go through the Sunday Night Football intros, and Bryan, Bulaga, Iowa. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I grew up a Packers fan, so obviously I saw that plenty of times. What's your reaction to that? Do you like it? Is it
the thing about it was I didn't realize that I was saying it in a certain way. I just, in front of a camera, Bryan, Bulaga, Iowa, and it turned into a meme. And you know what? That's okay. I kind of, I didn't really think much about it when it first started happening. And then, they started putting all the clips together from year to year. And I'm like, wow, I somehow sounded the exact same all the way through. From rookie year all the way up to, my last year. So that's impressive. But you know what? I found it pretty funny. I enjoy it. I always get a laugh out of it whenever I get it sent through social media. I think it's funny. And kudos to the guy that put the video together. That takes time, clipping all those from those games. That takes time. I couldn't do it, but it's impressive.
The 2009 team was very similar. Not very similar. It's a different team, but they couldn't run the ball that great. Found weird ways to win games and blocking 2 field goals.
Yeah.
Michigan State, Arkansas State. A lot of, do you see any parallels, I guess?
Well, yeah. I think, 2009. The run game was never going to be the same because Sean Green just walked out the door the year before, so you never really were going to get the same exact production. And then, we lost. I think Seth Olson left, Brueggemann left, so we lost some, seniors, and then obviously Sean Green, and then Jewel Hampton got hurt in training camp, and the running back position was a little thin, and I'm not saying that we were perfect up front because we weren't, but guys were getting moved into new positions, and Riley Reef started for me when I went out with my thyroid deal, so there was a little bit of movement with that group, but looking back at that season, there was a lot of ugly wins, like you said, the blocked field goals, the Michigan State game on the final second to McNutt over the middle from Stanzi, and there's some parallels, I think, between the two teams. I think there's obviously several differences with the quarterback position. Obviously, this year's quarterback is out with an injury. Stanzi kind of got knocked out late, but at that time, we were undefeated. So maybe you're right. Maybe I'm thinking about it. Maybe it is more than I think. Defense is great. It was great in 2009. It's great this year. So, sure, there's definitely parallels to both seasons. It's hard to compare two teams, like this. Then you're going position by position, which I guess you could do if you really want to go die hard with it, which I don't know if you want to. But it is kind of funny how a lot of Coach Ferentz's teams take an identity of the other ones. Like I know from 06 or from not 06, 07 to 08, kind of how we changed as a group. And then, from that 08 to 09 group, how we kind of try to take back some of that 08 identity from, running the ball, toughness, grinding games out towards the end of the season. So I guess there's some parallels. I mean, he would probably be a better guy to answer this year's team because I'm not in here with him. I don't know many of the guys, but got to meet a few of them today. Walking around this building, how lucky they are with the stuff that they got, man. It's cool, I'll tell you that much. Free food. I mean, come on.
The line that you were a part of during your career here certainly did progress from early on until when you graduated. What's it like to be in that offensive line room? And sort of when did you get the sense that, like, oh, yeah, this unit is actually going to be really special?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's – as a freshman, I had no idea about anything, right? Like, it's kind of one of those – trying to make sure that I don't mess up. I keep, pay attention, do my job, and I'm on the field, make sure I don't mess up assignments. And, you kind of get through your freshman year and get into your second year, and you start to see the guys around you. You start to understand the scheme a lot better because you've been in it in a year. You get a little bit older, you understand football better, and you start to then be able to look up and down the line and see, who's playing each position. You're not just worried about your job. You understand everybody else's job. And that 08 season, I knew we had a pretty good group looking back at it. Myself, Julian, Seth Olson, Brueggemann, and Callaway. I knew we had a pretty good group. And then the following next year, obviously, I was out after that first game against NIU with my thyroid deal. And then coming back, myself, Julian again, then Eubanks, Reef, and Callaway. I mean, that was a pretty good group. We felt really good about what each other could do, and we had a pretty good bond off the field as well. We hung out quite a bit, and it was a good relationship, not only in the meeting room, but also off the field. And obviously Coach Morgan, our O-line coach at the time, great teacher, great guy to be in the meeting room with, kept it, super blunt, super real with us, which I always appreciated as a player, a coach that just told you exactly how it was. You watch film, there's no sugarcoating it, and it was just a good group to be around. So I knew probably, it felt to me, I mean, we knew it preseason, but probably by the middle of the year, we felt like this could be a unit that really could, do something special as we get later into the season. And maybe, obviously we didn't get that Big Ten championship because of the Ohio State game and all that, but if we get to a bowl game, we can do some damage, and it turned out being correct.
Why did you pick Iowa? How did you pick Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, I'm sure a lot of guys say it sounds cliche, but it was because of Coach Ferentz. I was very comfortable with his approach, kind of what he was, telling me how he likes to run his program and what he expects out of guys, and kind of his vision for me. I know he said it a little bit. He's like, we'd be happy if you want to try out for tight end. And I think the tight end tryout lasted a minute. I think I went out there and I started with the tight ends, and probably 30, 40 seconds later, I think Coach Doyle walked over and said, all right, Bryan, you're going to be over here with the linemen. So I had an idea going into it. I was going to be an offensive lineman, and I accepted that and I understood that. But what sold me on it, obviously, the program and the history and the facilities, obviously, when I was here, were still top notch. They were still fantastic facilities, but it came down to him and kind of his vision and his what he had set out for me, or what he had told me. Obviously, that comes down to the player. Once they get in here, what do they do with that? But kind of, I trusted him as a coach and kind of what his leadership and his expectations were for me, and that's why. Obviously, Wisconsin was an hour closer drive, which I wasn't really buying it with the head coach at the time there. I didn't really, I'm not going to say anything negative, but it just, it just felt comfortable here. You know, I'd visit here a bunch of times with my family, and we loved it, and it was just it felt like the right fit for me.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Yep. Appreciate it, guys. And gals.
Join us.